what's the link between young people who might self-harm and then actually go on to attempt suicide? Because I think that's one of the biggest fears with parents, that if I don't hide all these things, that could be the next step. It could get to there. Is there a link? Is that kind of a viable link to make in your mind as a parent?
The important thing to say is that most self-harm that takes place has no suicidal intent behind it. So often when people self-harm, they aren't trying to end their lives. It's to express emotions and the things that we've talked about already. But with increased self-harm, so if a young person regularly self-harms again and again and again, there has been shown to be a link between that and a risk of suicidal intent in the future. So that's why we want to tackle the self-harm before it gets to that point that it's so ingrained, it's a regular habit for a young person who then goes on to be an adult. So there is a link, but it's not something that you would have to panic about. On suicidal risk as well, if that's something that as a parent you're worried about your young person might be having suicidal thoughts, then it's best to ask them directly about it.
That's quite a scary thing to do, isn't it? It's quite a big word to use, suicide. There's a bit of a fear that you might be putting a thought in the head almost. Could you be encouraging something?
Yeah, I hear that a lot as well, that people are worried by even mentioning suicide, you'll make someone want to do it, but actually, reassuringly, all of the evidence is the exact opposite. So as soon as you ask a young person if they've had any thoughts about suicide, you immediately lower their risk of actually attempting suicide. So even just coming out with a phrase yourself, lots of people, when they feel like you're feeling, they have thoughts about killing themselves. I know it sounds quite a brutal thing to ask, but as soon as you've asked that, you've given them permission to open up. So if they have been having those thoughts, you're allowing them to let them out and immediately lowering the chances of them actually acting on them. If they haven't been having those thoughts, it doesn't give them a suggestion to do it.
Right.
And the evidence is quite strong in the opposite case. So it's good to ask the question, and you could actually save a life if you ask the question rather than dodging around it and not wanting to.